Gold Invest. Explore opportunity.
Aztec Minerals, AZT on the TSX Venture Exchange, has had a good run this year. The stock being up about, I think, 57%, something like that, year to date. But in an environment of over $4,000 gold and more than $57 silver per ounce, it seems to me that the market still has not fully realized the company's potential. We're talking to Aztec CEO Simon Dyakowski today to give us his take on the situation. Welcome, Simon.
Well, thank you very much for having me on today, Björn.
A pleasure. Simon, let's jump right into it. Please give the Gold Invest audience a short overview of the two projects in your company's portfolio, the Tombstone and Cervantes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We have two very compelling projects within our portfolio. Both have a gold focus with polymetallic upside. So our first project is the Tombstone Silver District in southeastern Arizona. This is a joint venture of which we own an 85% interest and control the direction of the joint venture. And this has been the focus of our exploration and drilling over the past 2 years, really. And we've had some excellent results. The U.S. has really transformed into one of the premier mining jurisdictions in the world. And southeastern Arizona has always been one of the top areas within the U.S., even before the administration became mining friendly. So we've been really focused in there and have had excellent gold and silver results over the past 2 years, which have timed very nicely with the bull market in gold and silver. But we also have a 100% interest in the Cervantes Projekt. And this is very near the Tombstone property. However, it's in a different country. It's in Sonora, Mexico. And I will note that Sonora, Mexico is known to be very mining friendly in terms of open pit mining within Mexico. And although there have been some changes in the mining regulation in Mexico over the past couple of years, there is now an expectation that the company is considering reopening to mining. And as evidence of that, a company based in Canada received a permit to develop a brand new open pit just a couple of weeks ago in November of 2025. So we have two projects, both gold focused, but really right now we're focused on Tombstone, Arizona.
Yeah. And let me say, I think you're talking about Silver Tiger there, which we work with too, or have been talking about too for a while. And that certainly set the tone for the exploration and mining scene there in Mexico, to be sure. I think both projects sound very promising, but also to my mind, Tombstone is the primary value driver, at least for now, as you said, and then you've been focusing there. Can you give us a bit more detail? I think there's a near-surface oxide component that might be a nearer-term value driver, and then there's the potential for carbonate replacement style deposit at depth, which, if proven up, could be a game changer for Aztec, right?
Well, that is certainly the potential for that target. And so just to back up a little bit, Tombstone is a historic silver district. It produced high-grade silver from primarily underground high-grade mines back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. There was reportedly 32 million ounces of high-grade silver production. And most of that came from one mine called the Contention Mine, which sits entirely underneath our property. And this mine had 10 levels of underground mining and was the most productive mine around, really the peak was around 1910. What we've been focusing on, however, is the open pit and oxide potential, which actually was previously open pit mined in the 1980s. So this is a past producing property, both underground and open pit oxides as a heap leach in the 80s. And so we think the first way that we've been able to attempt to build value for the property has been to drill an expansion of the open pit, which has been very successful. We've had some exceptional grades. I'll note that the typical average grade for an open pit heap leach mine in the Western US is about a 0.5 gram gold on average. And most of our results have been much higher than that. We announced in early November a result that was way higher than that. It was 36.5 meters of 8 grams gold and 50 grams silver. And we've had a few results like that. On our top 10 list, there have been, multiple hits, wide widths of anywhere from, 30 to over 80 meters of better than 1 gram or 2 gold equivalent. So this model has been fruitful for us, and we are still expanding it. Just today on December 4th, we announced another expansion to the drill program. We're planning to, in 2025, drill about 7,000 meters of RC, reverse circulation, and at least 1,500 meters of core. And you touched on the core drilling. So this is for the CRD, carbonate replacement deposit style potential at depth. And this drilling is actually now underway. And we are in our first hole now, about, as of this morning, about 550 meters down the hole. Our target's around 650 meters. So we're getting very close to our target. And this is a unique upside. This isn't oxides, this is sulfides, and this would be potentially underground mineable if we were to make a discovery. And so while it might be a longer term value driver, the discovery might be in the shorter term if we get lucky with this drilling. So we're eagerly awaiting to see what the core looks like. And I think probably by the end of the week, we'll be at our target here. And, assays probably won't be for, 2 to 3 months just because of the delays in the laboratories, because of the demand that the industry's been providing. But if we are successful, there are some comparables in the marketplace for CRD discoveries, and they've been very well rewarding to their shareholders. Most notably was a discovery made in 2015 by a company called Arizona Mining. And they actually made this discovery just 40 miles, 60 kilometers away from us. Hermosa Taylor, it was a 2015 discovery hole, about a kilometer below a silver district, and they got sold for, I think, almost 2 billion Canadian 3 years later. So if you hit on one of these things and they're big enough, it can be, very lucrative for the shareholders.
Yeah, that certainly sounds like it. Fingers crossed there. So, you're right, of course. I mean, while to develop something like that or drill it more, that will take longer. When you reach the target depth there at about 650 meters, and the values are good, then of course it's a discovery that could already open up some blue sky potential there. So let's get back a bit to the situation with the analysis in the labs. I mean, it's a good sign, of course, that on the one hand, that the labs are backed up because everybody's drilling and the industry is up and running, and it's good to see. On the other hand, it's a bit frustrating for shareholders to have to wait and until this comes around. Just to clarify, are you looking for the next drill results from the CRD, from the deeper drilling that will take longer because it's not finished yet, but from the near surface drilling, from the RC drilling, is that 2 months it will take too, or are you expecting something there earlier?
No, we have 21 holes in the lab right now, and some of them went in the lab in late August and mid-September.
Oh, okay. So
we expect to have results from some of those holes within the next 30 days. And as you mentioned, it is a obviously a good sign that there is money flowing into the industry that's creating these delays. But the lab that we use has advised us that they've hired additional staff, and they did have to source some replacement equipment for one of their analysis machines from Germany, actually, and that has now arrived, and they have advised us that the turnaround times should improve. They're not obviously promising as fast as they were before, but we've been led to believe that they'll be less than 90 or 100 days going forward. But we don't want to overpromise, because it's obviously completely out of our hands once we make the shipment.
Okay, understand. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed we'll have something before, perhaps if not before the end of the year, then early next year, when we all come back from the holiday break. That would be perfect timing, in my opinion. So if you have those results, let's say from all of the 21 drill holes still outstanding, will you then start putting together a resource calculation?
That is something we are going to very strongly consider once we have completed the RC drilling. Mm-hmm. So, to date, as of today, we've drilled this year about 6,000 meters of RC, and our drill hole database up to the end of last year was about 9,600 meters. So we're about just shy of 16,000 meters now of drill data, and we would like to keep the drill into the new year, but we'll sit down in early January and determine a cutoff point for resource modeling and calculation, but we haven't decided that cutoff point yet, because obviously anything that's drilled after that is excluded. So we want to make sure that we don't exclude any very important information that might be coming out of the drilling that's underway in December and January.
Okay, just for my personal interest here, really, can you give us a bit more insight into how this decision process will occur? What kind of information will you be taking into consideration? The results that you already have, further exploration work, additional work, geophysical or geochem work you've done?
It'll be primarily driven by the visual observation of the drilled chips. So we have a fairly robust exploration model, and the way to test that at this point is to drill it. And we have step out targets primarily over to the west. So we want to basically see how the chips look in our targets and our expansion targets to see if our model is holding together, and if it's holding together well and we think it grows, then we would possibly drill more before capping the sort of information flow. Or if we need to sit back and do some more geophysics and fine tune the exploration model without drilling, that would be an appropriate time to pause and start to calculate, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great to hear. Yeah. Okay, so that's some way off, though. Still, at least will take us into the new year, at least. And of course, the drilling going on, the lab work, everything really costs money, of course. But I think Aztec has a couple of $1 million in the bank, as you just recently closed a nice financing, let's say like that. So that would take you through the completion of the resource, right?
Oh, absolutely. It would take us through, I mean, it's budgeted to take us through a resource and then additional drilling and additional study. We raised $10 million in October, and we still have about $10 million in the bank account as of today. And so our cost to drill is about 300 maybe US per meter RC. Mm-hmm. So we have ample runway to do a resource, to drill additional shallow or deep targets, depending on what's justified, and to conduct further studies. So we don't anticipate raising additional capital to accomplish any of these potential milestones over the next several months.
Okay, now that's a comfortable position to be in. Of course, that's also what shareholders like to hear, and you don't have to go back to the market too soon. So just to wrap this up, please give us your summary on why investors should take a closer look at Aztec now at this moment.
I think Aztec is still cheap compared to a lot of the other exploration and mining companies. The reason is that we had a bit of a financing overhang, which is now gone. We raised in October with a no warrant bought deal 4-month hold financing. So we're completely cashed up now. And that financing was subscribed to by only about 6 investors. So we have very strong institutional backing now. We also have only released 13 holes out of our drill program right now, despite having already drilled 34 holes. And out of our initial 13 holes, we've discovered both high-grade gold and silver in several of those holes, with a highlight of 36 meters of 8 grams gold and 50 grams silver. So that's one of the strongest results in our region and one of the strongest results reported by any company over the past few months. We have 21 holes mentioned, as I mentioned, in the lab. And so there's potential for additional discovery to serve as a catalyst over the next few weeks and months. We're continuing to drill, so that 21 hole backlog will grow and it will be reported. So, news flow is no issue now. There's no financing overhang. And now, for the first time in really 7 years that we've been involved in this project, we're drilling deep into the CRD target. So that's coming up. We have a couple of high priority targets that are being drilled right now. As I mentioned, the first one is about 100 meters away from our target. And we're very hopeful that we can prove our deeper exploration model and start to report those results to the market. So these are all, in my mind, significant re-rating catalysts for a story that is still relatively cheap compared to some of the other companies in the gold and silver sector that have had exceptional returns. So I hope that we're next in line. All we can do is execute as best we can, and we're hoping to prove to investors that we're good operators and that we have a good model with smart people that put it together. And now we're proving it out and communicating that to the investors and to the broader market.
Okay, thank you very much. You certainly make a compelling case there, and we are looking forward to seeing the next batch of results. And then especially got me a bit fired up about the deep drilling there, so I'm looking forward to see more of that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.